Thank you. First, to the families of the victims here today and across the country, I am sorry for your loss, and I believe you are owed an apology because this country should have done better. There is no reason why we lost 1.2 million people, more than any country on the globe, when we have the most sophisticated medical system. This committee must deliver real answers so it never happens again, and I am here today to help in that mission. As you know, New York was hit first and worst by COVID through no fault of its own. I did daily briefings, and millions listened in because they because they needed information and guidance. And yes, I often vehemently disagreed with President Trump because from day one, he willfully deceived the American people, denying COVID's very real threat, telling us that it was like the flu, it would go away by Easter, it was a Democratic hoax, use Clorox. And his lies and denials delayed our response, let the virus spread, and this country never caught up.
5 minutes of questions.
Thank you. Governor Cuomo, do you stand by the March 25th, 2020 directive?
The March 25th directive was based on the CDC-CMS guidance.
So you stand by it?
They both do the same thing. Both
you have
CMS,
said
CDC,
that,
and DOH.
excuse me, you said that the directive followed CDC and CMS guidance. Are you aware of anyone in your office that asked CDC or CMS about the policies in the directive?
The Attorney General opined legally they were the same and said the March 25th order was consistent with the federal guidance.
Okay,
and
so
that's
you
how
stand
it was
by
enforced.
it, and you say it followed federal guidance. Then why did it need to be superseded by executive order? Was this because
it was
you were
superseded
getting bad
later
press?
on? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
It was superseded later on because we then got to a position in May, I believe, where we had enough testing capacity and we mandated testing for nursing home staff.
So it had nothing to do with public relations or bad
And
pressure?
it also, this was all politics all the time.
Okay.
And it bothered and scared people because they didn't know who to believe.
Okay. So on June 7th, 2020, your executive assistant sent this email writing, and I quote, "This is going to be the great debacle in the history books. The longer it lasts, the harder to correct. We have a better argument than we made. Get a report on the facts because this legacy will overwhelm any positive accomplishment. Also, how many COVID people will return to the nursing homes in that period? How many nursing homes? Don't you see how bad this is? Or do we admit error and give up?" Ms. Benton is your executive assistant. I believe she's sitting behind you. Did she write this email on your behalf?
Yes.
Governor, did you have an email account while you were governor?
No. Well, I may have had one, but I didn't use it.
Okay. Was there a reason?
I haven't used it in years.
Did you communicate in other ways with your staff? Text messages or BlackBerry
Yes.
messages? You did. You just said that you stood by the directive, but this email asked if it was time to admit error and give up. Was the March 25th directive an error?
No, this was the last line, sir, was tongue-in-cheek.
Okay.
This was an ongoing, raging political debate where the Republicans were saying March 25th caused deaths. So I said, answer it fully.
I understand, Governor. You testified that you were not aware of the directive until April 20th, 2020, almost a month after it had been issued. When you were asked about it at a press conference after you learned of the order, did you have any concerns about the directive?
When I was asked about it at the press conference, I was not aware of it. If I had been aware of it, my answer would have been very simple. I would have said, it followed, ask Donald Trump.
Did you ask questions after you learned about the directive?
After I learned about it, yes, I asked questions.
Give me some examples.
I was debriefed by the Commissioner of Health, who said this is the theory of CMS and CDC and DOH, that these people are no longer infectious.
Did you ever discuss terminating or amending the directive after you learned of it?
When it was described to me that CDC, CMS, and DOH all thought this was a good idea, and they had a medical theory behind it, that these were non-infectious people, et cetera.
For time's sake, Governor, to return to the email, why did you direct your staff to get a report on the facts?
Well, just to counter the newspaper story.
So on July 6, 2020, the Department of Health issued the report you requested. Was this report peer-reviewed?
I don't know.
It was not. Was this report in a medical journal?
It was not. It was a
It was
government
not.
report. It was not
the-
for a medical journal.
Was the executive chamber involved in the drafting and editing of the report?
I'm sure the executive chamber was.
It was. So you requested a report on the facts, and you got a report that was not peer-reviewed, not in a medical journal, and drafted and edited by the very body accused of wrongdoing. So, Governor, do you stand by the July 6 report?
So this is in real time. We're acting. An agency is taking an action. You ask the agency for a report on the action.
And Governor, my time has expired. Mr. Chairman, what's clear is the governor was desperate to change the narrative, to dispel of the notion that his administration failed nursing home residents, that he failed to ask any questions. And Governor, I believe you failed to follow the facts, and it's now clear that you should have done what your assistant suggested in the email, and that was admitted error and given up.
If you believe the CMS and CDC were wrong, then that would be your position.
I now recognize the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Raskin from Maryland, for 5 minutes.
Chairman, thank you.
You testified that you don't know who signed off on this March 25th directive, and your DOH commissioner did not either, you say, despite both of your names being at the top of the letterhead. In the closed-door testimony, both you and your chief of staff told the committee it was some mid-level staffer at the Department of Health. But the commissioner and the deputy commissioner of the Department of Health said it was your executive chamber that approved it. You did not have a name on June 11th. Do you have one today? Who signed off on this directive? Was
Yeah.
it you?
Let me try to.
Was it the Lieutenant Governor, Kathy
yeah.
Hochul? Was it your chief of staff,
Yeah, let me-
Melissa? No, it's a yes or no. I mean, was it you? Was it Kathy Hochul? Was it your chief of staff, Melissa DeRosa? Or maybe it was that communist spy. Maybe it was that communist Chinese spy, Linda Sun, who worked in your administration.
Well, maybe when
Let me
they-
just please finish, and I'll let you answer at the end, because I find it hard to believe, Governor, that the governor of the state of New York, you're known to be a micromanager, right, who did a briefing every day for 111 straight days. We find it hard to believe that you did not know that this directive with such consequences went out with your name at the top, and that you didn't get to the bottom, right? Don't you want to get to the bottom of who did issue this after all the media attention, the public scrutiny, the deaths that resulted? You've shown, I'm sorry, but you've shown no empathy. You've shown no remorse. You show no responsibility for the actions of your administration, and that's just not leadership.